You're listening to the Fayetteville 411 podcast, produced by the City of Fayetteville, where you will get information about city government and the programs and services we provide. You'll get topics of interest and an inside look into the various departments that help keep our city moving. I'm John Salling.
And I'm Sherry Kropp. Thanks for joining us for the podcast. With January 26th through the 30th being National Identity Theft Awareness Week, it's a perfect time to take a closer look at how we can all protect our personal information, both online and offline. And today we're joined by Detective Jennifer Kelly. She is with the Fayetteville Police Department, and Mike Garcia from the city's Information Technology Department. They're going to help us unpack what identity theft looks like in today's world and the latest scams out there and what steps we can do to stay safe. Well, welcome.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for the invite.
And let's start with some of the basics. For example, what is identity theft for people that may not know, and how common is it in our area?
Well, identity theft is anytime your personal information has been taken and used by someone else, which can include names, date of birth, social security numbers, banking account numbers, credit card numbers, anything that is your personal financial information that can be misused.
And it seems like this is happening more and more often these days. It's a really scary thing to think about, that this is something that could happen to you. From a law enforcement perspective, what are the most frequent types of identity theft that you see?
I would say the most frequent type is where we have accounts being opened using your personal information. That can be store accounts, loans, those kind of things. You don't see much of a checking account, but more of getting credit or loans using your they have to use your date of birth, social security number. Recently, we've had cars, people going to car dealerships using other people's personal information to receive cars.
Okay. And what's kind of a typical scam that we're seeing more recently here in our area that people fall into?
In our area, what's been showing up more recently is our younger people, I would say under 50 citizens here in Fayetteville, are being approached by people in parking lots and, hey, can I borrow $50? But they want you to send it on Cash App. And through the process of talking and having conversation, they end up getting the victim's phone. When they get the victim's phone, they have access to the banking account because I guess they've opened up their Cash App. So it's open and they're doing things, moving money out of their bank accounts. And it's happening so fast that when they walk away, they haven't realized that they've been a victim yet until they get a notification or they check their account and realize that funds have been taken out. So that one we were seeing that one the last couple of months. The other thing we're seeing here in the community, citizens are receiving phone calls saying that there's an issue with your bank. It's been investigated. We need you to move your money. We're going to give you the information where you need to move it to. When you go into the bank, don't talk to the employees because they're under investigation. And we're seeing citizens that are pulling out their funds, sending it to Bitcoin, and they don't have enough information for it to be tracked when it hits Bitcoin. So we are seeing that.
And these people, they're very savvy, very convincing, and especially for like my mother, who doesn't really, we'll just say she's not quite as savvy as some of the younger people at picking up some of this
stuff. And she's probably more trusting. Usually our older citizens here in Fayetteville are very trusting.
Mm-hmm. And not knowledgeable enough about things to know that this just doesn't sound right. And this is happening more often, and it is really scary.
Honestly, I know a couple of stories recently of my wife being approached by people asking for Cash App, so that makes a lot of sense there, too. Her default for that usually is just no.
Yeah, but that's the best thing, no.
Or I have
Sure.
no money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
what
think
I
that's
always
why.
say.
Well, I think they know that the younger people are using Cash App, and that's why they're picking to say, "Can you send a Cash App? Do you have Cash App? Can you? I just need some gas money." But I don't understand them turning their phones over. I just don't get that part yet, where
Yeah.
you're actually going to give your phone to a stranger.
And Mike, from an IT standpoint, how has technology changed the way that identity theft is happening?
Right. Identity theft isn't new. So in the past, people would steal mail, and the physical mail would have some of this information, such as social security numbers and addresses. And what they've done is they've leveraged technology, specifically AI, to really enhance how they're able to steal. Essentially, the threat actors, well, in the past you could identify it pretty quickly because there's typos in like an email phishing campaign. You're like, okay, that's a Nigerian princess contacting me. It's a lot of typos in there. This isn't legit. But now with AI, they're able to have very legitimate looking scams, and many people are falling for them. Actually, 2 months ago, my oldest daughter, she's 26, she was scammed. She banks with USAA, and they're based out of San Antonio, so they took a number from San Antonio, so they ported it and made it like it was coming from a legitimate business. USAA called her. They had the urgency, like you mentioned, and needed the username and password. And so she's like, okay, gave the information, and then they quickly moved money, consolidated it all in one account, and then transferred it out. And it happened within minutes. And the phone call she received was automated with AI, saying that they were the bank. And even for young people, it's hard to decipher which ones are real and which ones are AI in with today's technology.
Sure. But as people are trying to discern that, what are some of the top red flags that either of you would suggest people look for, whether it's an email, text, or a phone call?
It's definitely urgency. They always want you to move quickly so you don't have a moment to kind of think through it. And it elicits an emotional reaction, like they'll use a tactic where they are saying you're going to be sued by the IRS because of missed payments or whatnot. You need to do this immediately. And so they use that emotional response to have them give them the information quickly. And then as soon as they have access, the funds are gone, and then they can move on to the next.
Some of the banks now are sending out those messages that say, we will not ask you for your username, we will not ask you for your password. So if someone is calling asking for that type of information, that's your red flag. Because if the bank is calling you, they already have your information. So they don't need your user word and your password because they already have it. And then when they're trying to keep you on the phone, that's another red flag. Well, they don't want you to get off the phone. You need to stay on the phone with me. You can't call anybody. We've seen where people are being told that we've putting you under a gag order. You've been notified that you're now under a gag order. You cannot talk to anybody. People have been threatened with being arrested if you don't do that. So again, that sense of urgency that this has to be done now, and not letting them off the phone.
I know sometimes in emails, some people might get some emails that say, hey, you need to contact us. And then you click on that link, and that link doesn't take you to where you need that. Talk about that.
Yeah, so again, this is where AI is making it very, very difficult. But when you hover over the link, it'll actually show you where it's taking you. And they usually have a redirect in there, but there may be a 0 instead of an O, or they use a font where the A it is an A, but it's a different font, and the redirect takes you to the fraudulent site. And again, with AI, it makes it incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be cautious with any link that's sent. And if you have an app which allows secure access, and if you have the ability to add a one-time password via text, or more strongly use multi-factor with an app that will allow you to authenticate yourself, this just gives you that extra layer of security.
And are there any groups that seem to be targeted more than others?
Yes, I would say the senior population is definitely one of the groups of people that are oftentimes targeted because it's a generational difference. There's a certain kindness and trusting nature that seniors have, and they try to, not be rude on the phone. They don't want to hang up. The younger generation oftentimes is like, oh, this is a scam, I'm just going to hang up. But, just how they grew up, they don't want to be rude, and they'll listen, and they'll give them a couple more minutes than most people would. So that's definitely an age group that is targeted.
And usually seniors have more funds than the younger generation. So that's something why they're targeting them also, because of they can get more out of them.
And I would think that probably seniors are the ones that get those phone calls of the urgency because they're not really online that much. Where the younger generation, that's all they do is they're online. So they might not be getting, I mean, they would get the phone calls, but I think there's like targeting two different groups.
Exactly.
In the ways that they do
Exactly.
things. Yeah.
And the younger generation faces a different challenge. As you mentioned, they have a lot of ability to get credit. So if you can get their information, social security number, you can open up credit cards, and many young people in college or right after high school will easily get approved for a credit card because they don't have a credit history. It might not be a large limit, but $1,000 here, and they'll just open up multiple accounts in their name. So younger people are not out of the woods. They are definitely targeted as well.
And how are some other ways that they're getting this information? I mean, they're getting your name, they're getting your social security. How are they getting that?
It can be compromised several ways. Anybody that houses that information can be compromised.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because if a business is compromised, then oftentimes they'll get a huge batch of usernames, email addresses, and then what they'll do, and it doesn't matter if they get the password or not. They might brute force or try just the group of them, but oftentimes people will use the same password for many different accounts. And if they can compromise one in a breach, then they will try that on hundreds of other websites to see if you have an account there, and they'll use the exact same password. And oftentimes they're successful because having a strong, unique password for every different account is the best practice, but it is difficult. Now, they do make password managers, some free, some paid, some built into browsers. So using that to store unique passwords, complex passwords, and so you'll only need to remember the password to access the password manager, and that will give you some additional security, because oftentimes that's how it happens, is they compromise it from some third-party organization that you deal with, and then they'll try several hundred different locations.
You know, everybody pays their bills online now, your utilities, just everything. And usually, if it's a recurring, like your utility bill, there's an option in there where you can save your credit card information. Is it a good idea to not save that credit card information in there because security breaches and things like that? So I normally just put mine in every time I go in there
I do
instead
too.
of saving it.
I don't save mine.
So there is, and we go through it here at the city, there's compliance that all companies who process credit cards have to go through. And that's only one aspect of it. They do not store it locally. They only keep certain information. It is encrypted. All of that is in place. However, there's still compromises. Some people that don't get annual PCI like inspections, they might not meet all of the criteria, and you just don't know. With third-party apps, many organizations will farm that out to another company, and they don't know. They claim they might be within regulation, but you just never know. So that is a good practice. Like I said, be skeptical. Don't store that in there, because that's just another way that your information can get out there.
I do mine every time. I don't save.
One of the things I was going to mention, besides having strong, unique passwords, is updating the software on your phone, updating the operating system on your computer. Oftentimes, people will just neglect those, and that's how a threat actor could compromise and get some of your personal identifiable information. So keeping those devices right, in today's society, most of the things that we do are on our phone. Banking apps are on our phone, and if your phone gets compromised, not having a password just to unlock your phone, that's an easy step. You can use biometrics, a PIN, a pattern, but if there's no lock on your phone and you lose it, then now you've just opened up the floodgates to all those other things that they can access.
Because we have seen examples of where the phone has been unlocked and the bank app is open also. And it's like, well, it's all open. When they swipe it to open the phone, they can go straight to the bank account and transfer funds. And usually when they're transferring funds, it's going to be done multiple times. So, that's by the time you investigate and search warrant all those accounts, it's hard to track the money.
And I know a lot of people, like the phones have the wallets on them, so you'll put like a credit card in that wallet. That's always a scary thing for me. I've not done it because, like you said, if your phone is unlocked and you lose your phone, and they're going everywhere and using that card that's in that wallet to charge everything. I don't like that. How effective are like the McAfee and things like that people put on their computers?
Yeah, they're basic free ones that are just as good, but the one that comes with most Windows systems, Windows Defender, is actually pretty good. It'll catch anything that's known. It's updated really frequently, and should catch any of the known things. But there's always the opportunity for 0-day. It's just an unknown vulnerability that can get exploited. So if you regularly keep your computer updated and then have strong passwords that are not the same as the login of your computer into like your banking app or web page, that should give you that level of security.
So let's say somebody's out using a public Wi-Fi, a McDonald's, something like that. What are some of the risks there? What should people watch out for?
Yes, so public Wi-Fi is inherently insecure. It's there to bring more people in to purchase more food. So they don't really care what happens with the internet, so it's just go to the internet. But sometimes there are threat actors that can just sit there like in a cafe like Starbucks or in McDonald's and capture in plain text all of your information. So I would highly suggest, if you're on any public Wi-Fi, not to do any banking, shopping, or anything that has sensitive information, because just assume that someone could be listening or watching. And not only threat actors, but the company that you're at, they are monitoring where you're going and what you're doing in order to develop like profiles on your spending habits and whatnot to advertise to you. But I would be skeptical of every single public Wi-Fi and assume someone's listening.
And if we add it or not, I was going to ask too, like, do you count that if you move into an apartment unit and it comes with a Wi-Fi in there, is that one that you'd treat as public basically?
Yes. If you don't have your own password or encryption, I would not. I know that that's an incentive that the apartment complex would provide, but still, same principles there. Someone can be or probably is listening or watching what you're doing.
And there's one other one that I've heard about, and that's the RFID. People stealing identities with that. They can bump into you, walk up behind you, and if you don't have those RFID, I don't know what they're called, the protectors or whatever, they can get your credit card information that way. Let's talk about that.
Yes, very easily. I do have an RFID wallet, and what it does is it provides a layer to protect the emissions from your credit card. So it's a near field connection, so you have to be millimeters close. So this blocks that signal from going out, so I have to actually take my card out to use it. But the same goes for your cell phone. NFC near field connections are usually turned on, especially people who use it to tap to pay for groceries and whatnot. I would recommend turning that off when not in use. I know it's a pain to go into settings, but someone can easily, like you mentioned, bump into you and capture within a second all of your credit card information, and then in turn use that at a later date, but most likely right away to purchase things unauthorized.
And Jennifer, what one piece of advice would you give to someone who is approached in a parking lot, like you were talking about earlier, whether it be do you have some money, or what one piece of advice would you give to people if that happens?
Just to say no and to walk away. I know it may seem harsh, but sometimes you just have to say no and walk away, because we've had quite a few of those reports within the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm. And then when the people get the phone calls, just hang up, or
yes, when the phone calls coming through, don't even entertain. Hang up the phone. If you call your bank, you have your own number. You have a number on the back of your card. Call your bank. Make contact with your bank to say, hey, were you trying to get in touch with me? Is there anything going on? But just hang up, because they do this for a living. So they know what to say. They know how to say it. They've been very professional. The last victims that I've been dealing with, they said they're very professional. There's no way they didn't believe that they didn't work for the bank. They told them all the steps. So it's just hang up and don't talk to them. Lottery scams. Also, these phone calls have been coming in about you won the lottery and that you need to send. Instead
everybody
of
wants their money.
yes, and they're going to the gift cards. They used to say just send us $500. They tell you where to send it, wire it, Western Union. But now, the last couple of reports have been go get the Apple gift card and then scratch off the number on the back, give us the number, and then your funds are going to be available. If you haven't entered a contest, then you shouldn't be winning a contest. So sometimes our victims don't realize until we bring it up. Did you enter anything? And it was like, you know what? No, I didn't enter anything. Don't even entertain them, because this is what they do for a living. So just hang up. Don't talk to them.
And where can people go if they want to find trusted resources for help or education in the future?
My recommendation is the Federal Trade Commission and the identitytheft.gov website. They have all kind of resources. They have those sample letters that you'll need when you're disputing a claim. They'll give you an example of how the letter has to be written and presented to the bank. And they have a lot of information to tell you, okay, this is step 1, 2, 3, and 4. They actually list out the steps that you need to do to try to get it fixed. It is a headache when you've been a victim of identity theft, trying to get it all straightened out. So it can be very frustrating, but it's something that's going to have to be done.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it's very difficult and takes quite some time to get
Yes.
everything back in order. I hope that it never happens to anybody.
What are some of those steps that people could take to better protect themselves? I know we started to get into it there with some of the two-factor.
The most important thing with identity theft is just monitoring your accounts. You have, we've, I guess, been in the habit of not looking at your credit report until you get ready to go buy a major purchase. Well, now that's something that you probably need to do more often than it's looking at it and making sure nothing has been added that you didn't approve of. Because some of our victims, it's not till they go to buy the car when they see that they've been a victim of identity theft, because all this stuff is shown on the credit report. Looking at your bank statement every month, because now the banks used to give you maybe 60, 90 days. If you don't catch it within 30 days, they're not taking the loss on it. So looking at your bank accounts, looking at your credit report, looking at your credit card statements, just reviewing those things, keeping an eye on them. So say if, for example, you check your credit report and you see that there's been a Bank of America account open up. Make contact with Bank of America. Put a freeze on your credit report. File a police report, because normally they will ask for a police report from you. And then go from there. The investigation with a company, they'll usually say from 60 to 90 days to give them time to investigate, how the account was open and if they can come up with any suspect information.
So you would say the first step they should take is close out or notify the banks or the credit card companies or whatever. That would be the very first step because you want to do that quickly, yes. Right? And then the second step would be to file a police report or?
Put a freeze on your credit.
Yes, okay.
Third step, file a police report.
Yes, the FTC actually also has an identitytheft.gov, and they have steps, and the steps you just mentioned are the first and second steps, but they have guides that will also help you in the event you do get compromised on what you should and shouldn't do. And they also have a reporting system, so when you're disputing things with the bank, you can use the report from FTC, the local police report, just to strengthen the case.
We greatly appreciate all of the information that you've shared with us and the listeners, and I hope that people will follow some of your advice and follow some of the steps in order to stay safe. Thank you to our guests for sharing such valuable information, and thank you to our listeners. A little awareness can go a long way in keeping your information safe. To listen to more podcasts like this, be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville, available on most of your favorite podcast streaming platforms.
You can also listen to every podcast that Radio Fayetteville has to offer by downloading the FayTV streaming app, available now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV. To get information about city services, visit FayettevilleNC.gov. Thanks for joining us.